Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I am excited for this one. Why? Because my brother Drew is joining me again. And he has had a transformative journey on his own with being disciplined, starting to be consistent with things like running and other areas of his life. And in this episode, we talk about David Goggins and the lessons that we can learn from him. We're both reading his book, Never Finished, and so we pull some insights from that to kind of help illustrate our points and have a good discussion. And we have fun while doing it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know if you have any feedback, and enjoy.
The only thing I wanted to talk about was my theory on David Goggins.
All right.
About Kobe, like how he's misunderstood.
About Kobe?
And about how David Goggins gets a bad rap because he's not a professional athlete.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I'm talking about? Like how like Kobe, he was, he's honored or like he's loved because of who he is. But
yeah, David Goggins is like, that guy's insane.
Yeah.
Everyone hates him.
Yeah.
Not hates him, but dope. Yeah, let's jump into this bad boy.
Okay.
Welcome to the first in-person podcast with me.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
I'm excited to be here. It's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming. Now that I'm in Arizona, why not?
Okay.
But today, David Goggins comes to mind. And I want to start off because the other day we were talking about David Goggins and you said you've changed your opinion on him.
Yes.
So I want to know what your opinion was before and then what it has changed to.
Yeah. David Goggins, and before, in my mind, he was always a crackhead. Like, that's the easiest way to describe it.
Pretty accurate.
Like, he was so over the top and, like, unnecessarily crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, dude, that guy's like, we're both reading this book, or I finished it, but
I'm reading it.
the stories that he tells in there, like, especially going through Hell Week and all that stuff, like, he ran on broken legs.
Yeah.
So he is a psychopath.
He 100% is a psychopath.
That's the way.
I had a realization because David Goggins has become one of my like favorite people.
Yeah.
Not like one of those like David Goggins advocates who's like, man. No, David Goggins, like the principles that he has, that he teaches, are principles for everybody.
I agree.
It's not just a bunch of testosterone filled, prepubescent boys.
Sometimes it comes off that way, but it's not.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
But him, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, like all these like crazy people essentially are like my heroes. And one of the things that I realized about David Goggins is I think he is misunderstood because he's not a professional athlete. There's no glamour that comes with being David Goggins. Like he's the crazy bald dude running in the desert versus like Kobe Bryant. He's waking up at 3 a.m. and training behind the scenes
Twice a day.
But then, well, not anymore. R.I.P. But
and why'd you got to do that so early?
But then he's going on the court and he's winning basketball games. He's winning championships.
Yeah.
And there's flashiness to it. So people like respect the craziness that comes with that. But with David Goggins, people just say, like he's not a superstar.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why with David Goggins, people will kind of say, oh, you're just crazy for thinking that he's, an idol or like someone to look up to. But realistically, like he's not as crazy, or he's just as crazy as Kobe or Michael Jordan.
Absolutely. I think you're right there because like you look at people like Tom Brady, same story. But to your point, like, yeah, he's got how many rings? 7?
Kobe?
No. Tom Brady.
Oh, Tom Brady has 7.
7 rings? And so, like, you can see, like, he's like, what's up? Like, I got all this from all my hard work and dedication. And David Goggins is like, hey, I got broken legs because I ran 250 miles in the desert.
Yeah.
Or he's like, I'm jumping out of airplanes. I don't know if you've gotten to this part of the book. I'm jumping out of airplanes fighting fires in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
It's like, none of that is, it doesn't come with a trophy. Well, winning the race does, but, like, it's not going to be broadcasted. It's not going to be told to other people.
But at the same time, like he's a lot like all of us are, because a lot of us are going to be like in a parade in Los Angeles, like we're doing the things that drive us. Like we're gonna die, and the people who are going to remember are the people who are close to us.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting with the example of Goggins, and not to put you on the spot, but you and him have kind of had a similar, I guess, experience.
Yeah.
His was very extreme. He was 350 pounds or something like that, and he decided to become a Navy SEAL, which took a crazy amount of work. But I mean, you started running a year ago and have made some serious.
Not even a year.
Not even a year, and you're about to run the first marathon.
A year, like end of November.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, you see that example, and I love that you brought up the point of how that's like most of us. You know, we're not going to go get celebrated, and we're not going to have people parade us down to LA. Like, it's not like that. It's more of a quiet, I guess, driven purpose for yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, what's been your experience with testing your limits and like pushing yourself to do things that are uncomfortable, like running? Yeah, maybe tell a little bit about that.
For me, it's just like, I feel like every point there's been like a breakthrough, right? There's been multiple breakthroughs or like multiple things that happened to me. It started with like running 3 miles, and I called you. It's like, bro, I did 3 miles. It feels so good. And I was like, I know I just said I'd never run, but I'm gonna keep trying. And I kept going, and then we got to the half marathon, and it was like, oh man, like I felt good.
Yeah.
And I remember calling you. I think that was when we decided to start training, right?
Yeah. When I was like, yeah, let's start doing this bad boy.
And I remember expecting to take like a week off.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, run tomorrow. And like you didn't do it on purpose, but I was just like I was hoping. It's like, I don't have to run. Yeah. And then it was like, no, it starts tomorrow. I was like, okay. But there's just been like little like breakthroughs where it's like what something felt impossible to me. I finally like worked through it and then got to a point where it's just like, that's old news.
Yeah.
You know, like same with, and it happened with running, but it just bled into everything that I did, like eating, like, you know, challenging myself with the push-ups. I suck at push-ups, and I'm doing 100 push-ups every day. You know,
and after it, everyone should do 100 push-ups a day.
Just doing like little things like that, where like even, you know, I think about this all the time. Like going to the gas station.
Yeah.
Like I'll go and get a Diet Coke or whatever. Where before I'd go get a Diet Coke, get a candy bar, get a freaking burrito,
get some taquitos,
get some Takis, like everything. But like now it's like those things don't even like come up in my mind, just because it, you know, throughout my journey of running and it kind of bleeding into everything, it's like those things just don't come up anymore. So
yeah, why do you think that is? You don't feel tempted.
Well, it started with like understanding if I eat that stuff, it's going to ruin my run.
It will give you the runs.
It will give me the runs. But also, like, you know, I don't know. I think it just over time, after realizing that it's not good for me and that it won't help me in any way, I just that need to eat it.
Yeah.
Now I still cheat. I still have my bag of marshmallow mayonnaise that I eat after my long runs.
Yeah. I eat mine in my closet.
Yeah, in private.
But
yeah, I mean, I think that's like, especially as I've been reading this book, like you see with, you know, David, like throughout his like beginning, start with like little things. Like he talks about I ran a mile and walked home.
I don't even think he ran a mile.
I ran a quarter mile. Yeah, I ran a quarter mile and walked home. Like that's what it starts as. But then as you continue to go, like these things just don't seem big anymore. Like same with like running. Where I'm at right now, you know, we're literally 2 weeks out from Marathon 1. And, like, you're like, oh, you got 13 miles, or you got 10 miles. And, like, it doesn't even, like, I don't even worry about it. I'm just like, oh, okay. You know, like, it's crazy. It's normal.
Like, your body adapts so quick. Yeah. And so you, like, treat it right. You take care of it. And it's hard. Like, David Goggins has this quote from the book. And apologies if anyone that doesn't want to hear swearing, but you're going to hear it. This shit ain't permanent. Life is the ultimate competitor. It takes no days off, and it won't care if you've made some money or got a promotion at work. All it means is you are good to go for a moment or two. No matter how badass and successful you think you are, trust me, there's a semi coming around a blind curve ready to smack you in the mouth when you're comfortable as hell. And to your point, yeah, after the half marathon, it was like, it's time to get back to work.
Yeah.
One thing that Kobe and David Goggins have in common is their idea that they're never finished. Like David Goggins' book is called Never Finished. Kobe always, he's famous for that interview, "The job's not finished." And it's just about those small steps, like you were saying, that get you to, where Kobe was, where he won championships, or Goggins running 250 miles in the desert.
Yeah.
But it takes time. And David Goggins is a really good example of, like, in my opinion, he's a very good example of staying committed, staying dedicated to a goal, having perspective in mind. And when those times came up where he was like tested and pushed and he didn't feel like he could keep going, he still found a way to do it. But I'm curious if you ran into something like that with your own journey. Like, what did you tell yourself when the days were hard? Or were there certain things that like you would do that helped you get through stuff? Like, what did that look like?
I know my weaknesses. Like, I know that I can talk myself out of doing something. Yeah. And like, especially like, I'm the type of person where if I don't want to do something and that made up in my mind, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Us Russells are stubborn.
Yeah. And so like, I make it so that whatever I have to do, I remove barriers.
Yeah.
So like, if it's putting out my clothes, if it's packing my lunch, whatever, it's like doing like some sort of routine the night before so that when I wake up, there's nothing that's going to potentially block me from doing what I have to do.
As dumb as that might sound, it really does help.
Oh, I totally
set out your pre-workout, put it on the counter. Yeah. Like, so in the morning when you wake up, it's right there. Like, put your clothes out. Like, that way it's like programming your mind, like, hey, I'm waking up and I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that's going to stop me.
No questioning. It's just like in my head when I go to bed, I know that I'm waking up and running or waking up and lifting, whatever it is. Like, and then I get up and do it. I think the other thing too is, and I feel like this has this is like a positive and negative. Because sometimes you have to have tunnel.
That's true.
Like sometimes like with certain things you have to kind of block out what's going on. Like I do it a lot when I run. Like
just tunnel vision.
Literally tunnel vision. Like things will just kind of go black.
Yeah.
Like I won't have many thoughts. Like it's just like, and then all of a sudden I'm halfway done with my run.
Yeah. It's kind of nice sometimes.
It is.
But I think it's good. Like, prime yourself before you do the thing. Yeah, whatever that is. But take the steps to get there. He has this quote that I think about all the time. Like, when I was training for the ultra and I was up in the mountains, like doing 21 miles, like hating my life. I read the book before I trained for that, but there's this quote. He says, "Every experience on earth is finite. It will end someday, and that makes it doable. But the outcome hinges on those crucial moments or those crucial seconds you must win." And he's talking about in this part, like, kind of what you were saying. We can all talk ourselves out of stuff. And there's a point that all of us face where we have the decision to quit or to give in. And he talks about it like being seconds. Like, you have like 4 to 5 seconds to decide whether or not you're going to stay in the fight. But just me understanding, like, the marathon we run next weekend, it will end at some point.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to pass. And so if you can suffer for 3.5 hours or whatever, like however long it takes to get that done, it's going to end and then you can celebrate. Like, and be proud of yourself for that. I think it's just interesting, like, it's a perspective shift a lot of us need to make, myself included in that no matter how hard the days get, like, it's going to end at some point.
So he also says something about seconds.
I'm ready.
When he's talking about Hell Week, he says, life, like Hell Week, is built on seconds that you must win repeatedly. I'm not saying you have to be hyper aware every second of your life, but if you're pursuing something that demands all you've got and means the world to you, that is often what it takes. I really like that. Like, there's little decisions that you're going to be making. I talk to myself when I'm running sometimes. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I just have to shut that up, And I think that goes along with, everything being finite. It's those little seconds that you just continue to win.
Yeah.
That you'll eventually get to where you want to be or achieve those goals that you want.
It all takes time. And there's a compounding effect that happens when you are like consistent. Like you've heard the phrase consistency compounds, and it is true. Like the more you do something, the more doable you think it is. Like we're not saying you have to go out there and run 100 miles like David Goggins, but it's just a good example that anyone can change. Like look at his pictures that when he was 350 pounds, and then look at him today. It's like there's no way that's the same person. Just hiding in there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I like that. It's like the seconds in the day that add up to, whatever you're trying to accomplish and being like committed to the goal.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a huge thing a lot of us forget is commitment. And Goggins himself might be the most committed person I've ever learned about.
Not just commitment to like your goals, but commitment to yourself.
That's true too.
Like that's been a lot of the mindset change for me too. Is like I want to be healthy for my children. We've talked about that before on here. Is like I want to be around for a long time, but also like I want my kids to think like when they're talking to their friends about their dad, like I want to be like, oh, my dad's a badass.
Yeah,
like he's freaking tough. Like you don't want to mess with my dad. Not like aggressive, mean. But like I want them to like look at me like my dad's a hard worker. He can literally achieve anything that he puts his mind to.
Absolutely.
Because I want them to believe that about themselves too.
So is that a big reason that drives you? Is like the way your kids see you?
Yeah.
You want them to know that anything is possible.
100%.
Yeah, because I feel the same way. Like I don't have kids yet, but like I always talk to Ellie about that.
I think it's just like people that I meet too. Like not in like a vain or like a cock you out. I went to a funeral for you remember Dave Hastings?
Yeah.
I went to his funeral, and Dave was just like the salt of the earth. Hard worker, cowboy. I milked goats on his property for a summer. Like
that was a good time. I remember going there a couple times.
A couple hog-tied goats. But like he was someone that I looked up to.
Yeah.
And then I went to his funeral, obviously because I wanted to, pay my respects to him. And the church was filled with people that had been touched by his example.
Yeah.
There was probably, this was during COVID too, there was at least like 600 to 800 people in this chapel. Like it was huge.
It's insane.
And not that that's what I want, but I want like to leave that kind of a mark on my family, but then also like people that I meet,
I think that's totally fair. Like you want to be someone that helps people just in life. Like it doesn't have to be anything crazy.
Yeah.
But just being a good person. There's not that many people out there who are anymore. Who are genuinely good people.
I think a lot about Mom too.
Mom, yeah.
Mom's that way. And she doesn't do it because she, wants the glory or to like she does it because she genuinely loves people.
100%.
Yeah.
She does. Yeah.
So
it's like she will drop anything that she is doing to go help like any of us that call her.
Yeah.
Without even a question.
Yeah.
But both those examples, and even Goggins to some extent, like they not exemplify, but they're good examples of humility.
Yeah.
And so how do you go about like trying to achieve these great things, doing your best, like pushing yourself and staying humble? I have a couple answers myself, but I want to hear your perspective.
Yeah. For me, and it was kind of funny because we're talking about it on a podcast, but I just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Like for myself, like when it comes to running, you're the only person that I talk to about my runs or about like my goals or like how I'm feeling about certain things. Like obviously I'll talk to Emily too.
Yeah.
But like, for the most part, like I keep that just you and me. Not because like, I'm such a good runner, but like I don't want it to come off that way.
I don't think it is.
But also like, to be, perfectly honest and maybe
you can boast a little.
Maybe a little, boastful is like that's one of the things that I admire about Kobe. Is like Kobe wasn't out there telling everyone that he's putting in all this work. He was just there doing it.
Right.
And then
it showed up.
And people like finally caught on and were trying to follow him. Like they what was that documentary?
Dream Team?
No, the Redeem Team.
The Redeem Team.
Redeem Team. Like Kobe, he had been doing it for years, waking up at 4 or 3 and not going out partying. And then, like, the Redeem Team found out about it, and literally all of them stopped partying. And all of them started waking up at 4, just because he was out there doing it. And he wasn't like inviting people. He wasn't talking about it. He was just doing it.
Yeah.
So there's like, that's a little bit. I like to keep it to myself, like, and like, you're like my safe space, if that makes sense, to like, where I don't feel like I'm boasting, but like you and I can talk about like how awesome.
Well, technically I'm your coach, so I need you to.
Yeah.
True. But no, like nothing gets me more fired up than like when you text me and you're like, dude, I just had the best run. Like I'm feeling fast. And then like if you go back and look at your stats a year ago, it was like 10 minutes and 30 seconds a mile or something.
Yeah. It was
now it's
when I first started I was like 11:30.
Okay. So you've shaved off like
now
2.5 minutes.
I mean, I just did last week, I did my fastest, I think, more than 3 miler.
Yeah.
I did 7 miles at an 8:37.
It's insane.
So like there's my boast for the video.
There you go. No, I think it's important to celebrate those wins, even if it's not like telling someone, like within yourself. Be like, hey, I'm proud of myself for getting to this point.
Yeah.
Because partly like one of the reasons I love learning about David Goggins is because he's so focused on controlling his mind and beating out like any negative thoughts that come his way. So he's like, his entire purpose in life is to see what the limits of his mind are. Like you hear him talk about it and he sounds like he's on a personal journey fighting through hell in his own brain.
That's what it sounds like. That's one of my favorite interviews with him is after he did, I think, was a Leadville.
I think it was.
His Leadville, and he's like, his feet are like bleeding. And the guy was like, how was the heat? And he's just like, didn't notice it. Like, no emotion.
Yeah, and everyone's like laughing uncomfortably.
And he just like didn't notice it.
Yeah. Didn't know.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But going back to the humility piece, I think doing these really hard and difficult things, they humble you in their own way.
Yeah.
Like, every time I run and like I'm getting tired, like kind of beat my ass just in training. Like it's hard.
Yeah.
And so like it doesn't come naturally, it doesn't come easy. So there's no reason to go out and be like, hey, guess what I just did? Like, no, like you struggle.
That's a fair point. I mean, like I did the 7 miler, the 8:37, right? And then when I did my 19 miler, I was at 9:59. Like,
I mean, 19 is huge though.
Yeah, right. But then the next week I did better time. But like, like that 19 miler in my head was not good enough, and it humbled me back to like reality.
It's true.
So I get that. It's a good point.
Yeah, I think it's like it's important to remember that, like, we are human.
Yeah.
The only person that was perfect on this earth and that was amazing was Jesus, and none of us are him.
Yeah.
But kind of going along with those things, like the drive that pushes us to do those things. I think David Goggins has a quote on this that I want to frame. But he says, I'm haunted by my future goals, not my past failures. I'm haunted by what I may still become. I'm haunted by my own continued thirst for evolution. And that, like, as weird as that seems, I feel that. Like, we all know we're capable of greatness. And if we're not doing what we can to try and achieve that, then I feel like we're leaving a lot on the table. And it also brings me to the man in the arena quote. You heard this, Theodore Roosevelt? It's long, so just bear with me.
Okay.
But he says, it is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, comes short again and again, because there's no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end triumph by achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while doing greatly.
so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Boom. Theodore Roosevelt. But I love when he says, like, you're either going to succeed or you're going to fail and at least have given yourself the best shot. Yeah. Has there ever been a time where, like, you have failed at something and you were proud of what you did? I mean, the answer is yes. I'm trying to think of like a specific, because I mean, I feel like I have plenty of running examples. I mean, I would say like being a dad. You know, like I feel like being a dad, a lot of it is failure. But then like, I mean, I think it's looking back and being like, hey, well, I did the best that I could there in that situation. But then like growing from it. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I'll give you an example. I hate that I'm about to share this. This is like, all right. I hate this. Yes, this is like one of my least favorite stories. Reese had a school like party. I don't even know what it was. It was like a splash pad and shaved ice party or something like that. And so anyway, that sounds great. I got home from work, been a long day, and the last thing I wanted to do was to go. And I was a butthole the whole freaking time. Yeah. And I was just like beside myself. I was grumpy, you know, like every second I was like trying to do this and that. And then when we got home, Emily called me out, was like, all Reese wanted to do today was to go to that thing with you. And you were a jerk the whole time. And I legit cried. And I went and sat on his floor while he was asleep. I picked him up and I held him for like 20 minutes. Yeah. So that was one of those times, maybe not the best time to be proud of, right? But like right then and there, I hadn't realized, you know, what I was doing. Yeah. I realized that I had failed. Obviously, like I'm not going to be like the worst dad in the world, but I had definitely failed as a dad at that time. But then it, you know, I feel like it set me up to be better from there on out. Yeah. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like that's definitely one where like I had failed, was not proud of where I was, but also at the same time like proud of the dad that I am, but it gave me an opportunity to become a better dad. Yeah. Failure's not failure if you learn from it. Yeah. Yes, we all make mistakes. Again, it goes back to that fact that we're human, but if you are learning from your failures and getting better because of it, like that's our whole reason why we're here, is like to become better people and to help each other out. And yeah, like I assume if something like that happens again, like you're not gonna be like, oh, sorry, I don't want to go, Reese. I'm like, well, at home. To be fair, dude, I felt like I had been coming home like that for a while, and then like since then, like I don't come home like that anymore. Yeah, you know, like obviously everyone has bad days, but like I feel like I was coming home quite often, kind of stuff like. Not like because work is horrible, like I love my job, all that stuff, but like, you know, it's just long, tired, especially training. Sometimes like training and then working all day, it kind of takes it out of you, especially like emotionally being available. But yeah, it's like it just awoke something inside of me, and it was just like, and now I just don't come home like that anymore. Yeah, I think that's huge. Yeah, I mean, I had a similar experience with Allie. Yeah. Like first 3 months of marriage, I was just a tool bag. I kind of sucked at being a husband, but learned a lot of lessons in that time about like how not to treat your wife and like what you should be doing to help build that relationship. And so like I don't look at that time as a failure. I look at it as like a learning opportunity. And you know, I was new to marriage. I've been in it for 3 months, and so yeah, I have a lot of room to grow, and I still do. But I'll do like. Goggins also has this quote. I don't think it's in this book, but that he doesn't look at failure as a failure. He looks at them as attempts. And so anytime that I have a bad run, I always remind myself that. Like, you know what? It's something that I can get better at. Like, it's not the end. It's, you know, whatever that looks like. But you can keep pushing and learn from your mistakes. Yeah. So I think it's huge. Sorry, I was looking for a quote, but I found it. So. You want to share it? No, let's keep going. Okay. Yeah, like I think it's important to keep that perspective to learn. And one thing that I admire David Goggins about, to kind of shift the topics, is his resilience and mental toughness. Like, that is something I hope to gain, like even a small fraction of what he has, in order to to control his mind. Yeah. To push away weakness, but I know that only comes through challenging yourself. But he has this thing, this other quote, where he says, "Respect is earned every day by waking up early, challenging yourself with new dreams, or digging up old nightmares, and embracing the suck like you have nothing and have never done a damn thing in your life." Respect is earned every day. It's kind of like that one quote from The Rock. Like, you got to pay your rent every day, or whatever it is. Yeah. I think a lot of people say that, but yeah. I know Josh Bridges, or Jeff. I don't know, he's a CrossFitter. He says, I think it's Jeff Bridges. No, Josh Bridges. He's like an old CrossFitter. He used to say, "Pay the man." Yeah. That was his slogan. It's pretty good. Yeah. Because it is true. Like, there are days when I wake up and I'm like, there's no way I can do this. Like, I'm exhausted. My body hurts. But what's interesting enough is, like, Goggins talks about the same thing. Like, he will look at his shoes sometimes for an hour and be like, I really have to go run. I do that. I did that on Saturday. Just like delayed. I was supposed to run 13 miles on Saturday, and I woke up and I was just empty, staring at nothing. And I didn't run until Sunday morning. You know? I mean, yeah, we're all human. We're all prone to it. But the point is, like, what do you do in those moments after? Like, are you going to reminisce on it all day? I remember you calling me and you're like, I'm just going to get it done tomorrow. Like, today was a late start. I'm just going to get it in tomorrow. Yeah. And it's like, okay, fine. Like, it's great. As long as you're doing it, as long as you're putting your best foot forward, like, things come up in life. It's hard. But yeah, what was the quote you have? So, I feel like this ties in, like, pretty well. So, I want to preface this, give a little backstory. Give me a little backstory. So this is David Goggins at this point in the book. He's talking about, I think it was the release of his first book, and he's been doing like press tours, and he's been doing like speaking engagements, and he like, oh yes, I know where you're going. Yeah. So he kind of felt like he wasn't a full-time savage, and but the crazy thing is that he had a cardiovascular event. I don't remember. Do you remember what it was? I know he had a hole in his heart. Is that what it was? And then I think it opened up and he had to go get like surgery again. So I can't remember if he had to do surgery at this point or if he had like recovered enough to a point where his doctor said he could do like strenuous. Anyway, well, his friend had asked him to run Leadville 100 again, but for his charity. Oh, I mean, you remember the story? And so he like talks about this moment where he like looks in the mirror and he calls himself out. I'm not going to read that because there's a lot of F-bombs and stuff. Actually, you know, I'm going to read some of it. Let me pull it up. You can censor it. Yeah. We could drop it now. I'll bleep it out for you. So he talks about how I looked in the mirror. I had a conversation with myself. I said, "You're a miserable mother effer right now. You can sit here and feel sorry for yourself, or you can go out there and win this effing thing." That's huge. And then the quote that stuck out to me the most is he talks about how he became a part-time savage. A weekend warrior is what he called himself. Yeah. And he says, when you're a full-time savage, it's a lifestyle. There is no want to. There's only must do. So that's like, that's probably like the biggest thing for me that stuck out in this whole book so far is, and I feel like mentally I'm starting to get to that point. Obviously, I'm not perfect, and obviously there's a lot of facets in my life where I don't, I don't have this mental toughness, but like, especially when it comes to running, I feel like I'm starting to master this. Is there's no want to, it's just must do. Yeah, you got to get it done. Yeah, if you want to reach your goal of finishing your marathon, you know that you have to do the training. Yeah, you have to put in the work. You have to put in the time. So then, otherwise, like you'll get there on race day and you will bonk. Yeah, you will fail. And if you don't put that work in, the results won't come. Yeah. And I love that because I've actually fallen into that a couple of times. most recently after my ultra, I was like, I think it took me like 2 weeks to get back into a full training routine. Obviously, like the week after, I was recovering quite a bit. Yeah. But then, like in my head, I was like, "Oh, I've already run an ultra marathon. Like I'm an ultra marathoner. That's sick." But I have nothing to brag about because my performance was terrible. Like I did so bad. That's not true. You pushed through a lot. I did. Yeah, I threw up. Yeah. But my wife, shout out to Alice, she freaking ran the thing with me, pretty much. Yeah. But it does happen. Like, and I think that's where humility comes in. Like, you have to remain humble because otherwise, that ego will start talking. And I think David Goggins talks about how like he was getting all this money and stuff, and like life was becoming comfortable. Yeah. And that's the part he describes the mirror. Yeah. He says it's not a gross, moldy mirror from my childhood. This was a shiny, clean, modern like mirror looking back at me. You know? I mean, I think there is time to like upgrade yourself, right? Yeah. Like, you should be like, if you're working hard, you're making money, like spend it on things that you like. But like, don't get comfortable to the point to where you put your goals aside for comfort. And like, I think that's what David Goggins is trying to say. Because then like you lose that savagery, if you want to call it that. Yeah, let me remember another quote because it plays right on par. Hit me. It says you have to fight to keep that mindset, getting up every day to get after it because it wants to go away. So I mean, that's like really it. Like, yeah, if you don't maintain it, it's going to disappear. What do you do to maintain that? How do you get out of bed every day and get after it? I mean, again, it's tunnel vision for me. It's tunnel vision. It's prepping. Like, even like I've been having, I feel like I'm starting to get a little stressed about the race. Yeah. Well, and it's like going into Black Friday, you know, for work. So it's like I'm busy. But I am starting to get a little stressed about the race. And I found myself like a couple like days ago, like stressing out about like what's going to happen after. Like, what's going to look like afterwards. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's going to be the same. You got to keep freaking going. Like it's going to keep doing more and more, you know, like that was like one thing. So I think for me, it's just, again, like removing barriers, but then like having a plan. Yeah. In my head. 100%. You always got to like, I don't know. I think you should always be training for something. Yeah. It could just be like, I don't know, like a goal mileage that you want to hit or something. But like you should always have a goal of like, I need to push myself every single day to get to where whatever X goal is. Like you have to stay in the fight. You have to figure out how to do that. Obviously, you don't have to be like an official race, but like, what are some ways that you can push yourself and keep going? Yeah, because like I love that Theodore Roosevelt quote. Like the person who gets the credit is the guy who's got the dust on his face, who's fighting every day, who's in the arena actually doing it. Yeah, and he's not going to be one of those cold, timid souls that didn't even have the courage to try. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is going to be, for me, a big test post marathon. Oh, what? Because I don't have the race lined up for after this. Team Sam, it's coming up in February. Yeah, I might not go to that. Emily might be going. I will probably use it as a, you know, like a check mark for me. Like, yeah, we talked about this. I want to focus on speed. Yeah, that's true. But like, I don't have a marathon, so like I'll be running essentially for no reason. Yeah, you know. Besides maintaining your, because before it was Team 10, and then it was what was the one we did in February or March, April? Oh, that was in May. Was that in May? Yeah, the Orange County race. Orange County half, and then it's been from then to now training for Vegas. Yeah. So it is kind of, yeah, it's wild, but I don't know. I think you'll be fine. Just I know it'll be good. Yeah. You don't need to have a race, but it does help, like being like, oh, I have this deadline I have to train for. Yeah. But I want to come back to something David Goggins said. I think this is in his first book, but he talks about how he was scared a lot to go and try and be a Navy SEAL, and rightfully so. Like he's 300 pounds. Like he doesn't know how to run. He can't but he wants to be a Navy SEAL. And so we started that journey. He had to like walk into the recruiter's office and pretty much belittled because like they were like, "Oh, you're a fatty. You're not gonna be able to do this." And a year ago, before you started running, was there ever a time where you needed to exercise courage? And be like, you know what, I'm cut out for more. I know I can push myself, or whatever that story you were trying to tell yourself was. Like before I like started getting into running, yeah. I mean, yeah, I felt like for a long time in the like I would say like in my fitness, which has always been like a big part since we lived in Rexburg. Yeah, it's been a big part of like of me and like the way I feel. I felt like I just kind of. I mean, I got up to 265. Yeah, and that for me it was like a huge wake up call, where it was like, dude, you're not big. You're not huge. Like, there's a reason that, like, when you look in the mirror, you don't look like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It's because I was fat. Yeah. And that I felt like for me it was like, hey, I need to find something. Was it hard to confront that? Yeah, because it's like David Goggins talks about like digging up the what did it say? What did it say? I can't find it. Champ's digging on the couch. He's digging on the couch. Digging up old nightmares. Yeah. Like, you had to confront yourself. You had to be honest with yourself. What was that like? I mean, it was, I had to just be honest. Yeah. Like, I looked in the mirror and I was like, dude, like, I didn't even, like, think I had big arms or big legs or anything. I mean, I was, like, lifting heavy. Yeah. Like, I had gotten up to 405 deadlift, like 236 bench. Yeah. 315 squat. Like, I was almost in the 1,000-pound club at one point. But like I looked in the mirror and I'm just like, dude, you're not huge. Yeah. And like I had to confront that, and I think that's kind of what started on like this journey of like, I'm gonna be healthy. Like you look at a lot of these like strongman competitors or like bodybuilders and those things, I mean, a lot of them don't live that long. Yeah. A lot of them abuse drugs. But like that was like the turning point for me, was like, the gym isn't just a place where you can go and like make yourself look pretty. Yeah. But like you can learn discipline, but then also like you need to be healthy and learn healthy habits. So like I feel like that was a huge thing. I mean, remember I went and got a physical. You remember this? I went. I got my cholesterol levels were like so high, and they're like, you can't eat carbs. And you're like, you can't eat carbs. Yeah, I don't. And you and I were like, that's stupid. Yeah. Eat rice, you freaking lift heavy weights. Stupid. Yeah, like I had to confront that person and like tell myself the truth. And then like I feel like it's gotten easier too now, where like I put the ego aside. Oh yeah. And it's like in my head, dude, I was jacked. But really, I was looking like the Pillsbury Doughboy. I still look like him a little bit. No, that's not even close. But no, I totally understand that. Like, it's super hard to be honest with yourself, because like you don't want to hurt that ego, and that's one thing Goggins talks about, is like you need to put that aside. But same with like Jocko, it's like put the ego out the door. Well, I want to ask you the question too. Okay. When did you feel like you have had to use courage outside of running? Outside? Yeah. I have an example from your life, but I want to see what you have to say. I would probably say like being committed to my goal and telling everyone that I was. Yeah. For example, like we'd go out to dinner and I'd get a salad. Everyone else would get like burritos or mini chimis or whatever when we go to like our favorite Mexican restaurant. And everyone would be like, Brett, why'd you get a salad? Like, what's going on? And I know it sounds silly, but like in those times I was like, whatever, like, yeah, I'm just gonna be brave and order this thing. Like, because I could have the choice of like, I'm gonna order a bunch of tacos like everyone else. But I would say like being true to what I believe has sometimes been difficult. Because a lot of people like you, I think, understand this now. When you try and do hard stuff, everyone's like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you running? Your knees are gonna hurt. Like, what's the point? But it's all because you see the value in it and you want to progress in that way. Yeah.
But I think that's a big one. Like, if you believe in something, you have to stay true to it. And that means sometimes you're going to get judged by other people. And
I literally, when we're talking about the want to versus have to, I say that all the time. Like at work, like, oh, I have to run 17 miles this weekend or whatever.
Yes.
And they're like, everyone would be like, have to? Like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, there's no like, yes. Like, no, it's yes, have to.
I know.
And it's hard. Even like my company does, we do lunch once a week. And sometimes I'll eat it, like if it's like a sub or something, or like salary bill or whatever. But like a lot of times I've had to just be like, no, bring my own food. And I'm sitting there eating cauliflower rice and freaking ground turkey.
I know, and everyone's looking at you like, what are you doing? But
like, don't get me wrong, I eat peanut butter M&Ms every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, but like,
you gotta have balance.
Yeah.
Goggins doesn't really have balance, but that's okay.
Yeah. I was going to say, actually, he does have balance.
That's true.
He talks about that in this first book.
That is true.
So,
all right, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, I think example in your life where you had to be courageous was moving to Utah.
Yeah, that's true.
Because really no one was up there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so you job
had just shut down. You got a job at another agency that you hated.
Yeah, it's the worst.
And you had no idea really what you were doing getting into a pattern because you never really worked in sales other than frozen dessert supplies. You know? Like that. But like that's courageous, dude. Like that takes a lot of guts, especially going to a place like I feel like mentally you were in a different headspace.
Yeah, I think about that a lot actually, and I'm like I'm proud of myself for taking that step because, like, if I didn't, I don't know where I'd be now. Yeah, like probably wouldn't be married to Allie. That's for sure.
Probably living with mom and dad still.
Oh man, yeah. Like, love you, mom, but I'm 27.
Yeah.
So it was scary, but it's kind of like the point of what we're talking about tonight is like if you feel like there's something you want to do or something you want to try, like it could be running, it could be moving somewhere, it could be taking a job, it could be anything. Like anything that requires a certain amount of courage, like commit to it, see how it goes for a while, and if you hate it or it doesn't work out, like you'll be alive still. Like you're not going to die.
Yeah.
You might feel like it, but
also I was wrong about balance. It wasn't him. It was
Hormozy.
Was it Hormozy?
I don't think Hormozy talks about that.
It's the oh my gosh, I'm having a total brain fire. It's Michael Jordan book.
Oh, Relentless.
Yeah. Doesn't he talk about balance and how there is no such thing as balance?
Yeah, that is Tim Grover.
Yeah.
It's okay. Goggins talks about it too.
Yeah.
But I think one thing I want to cover before we wrap this up is self-confidence.
Yeah.
That comes from doing all these things. Because if you read David Goggins' first book and if you listen to some of his podcasts, he would always say like he's the chocolate milkshake Twinkie eating fat cell. And so he had like no confidence. And he would go and get those food choices because like that made him feel good for a moment. And then he was like able to, alleviate some of that pain for just a quick second. I think there's a story where he talks about how he tried to run a quarter mile, ended up crying, walking home, and then he went and got like a chocolate shake and a bunch of donuts because he like wanted to feel good for a second. But if you look at his journey, he's become the most confident man that I think he thinks he can be. Like his confidence is insane. But that brings up a quote from Alex Hormozy that I talk about all the time. Like it's probably my favorite. You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt. And David Goggins has done that many times, I think. Just by watching him, like he's outworked his self-doubt over and over and over again. And self-confidence is something that like I've been trying to work on. If you go listen to like my first podcast episodes, you can tell I'm just like, hey, what's going on, guys? And, like it's so bad. I never listen to their own voice. Yeah, I listened to him the other night. It was so bad. But now it's like I do it. The more I do it, the more I put myself out there, the more confident I am in like sharing my opinions. And then like when I train and run and do these hard things, my confidence in that skill builds. And I'm like, maybe a 50-mile race isn't out of my purview. Maybe that is something I can achieve. Maybe it's, a 250 marathon is something I can do.
Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah. But it's only because I've put in the work that I know that it is something that is doable.
Yeah.
All that to say, all that to get this question out is like, you mentioned earlier that you saw running bleed into every other area of your life. I'm curious if it did that with confidence too.
Yeah. 100%. Like, I feel like a different person, dude. Like, it's so weird.
It is weird.
Like,
yeah.
It's like, like doing these things and then like, I don't know. I feel like a happier version of myself.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's part of it is blowing through those like barriers that I've put on myself, and like some of them were actual like mental barriers, some of them were physical barriers, and like getting through those like has made me feel better and more confident. But like, yeah, it just kind of bled into everything, and like going into my running, like I've got marathon 1, Vegas, November 3rd. But like
tune in for a special vlog on
but like if you were to ask me before Team Tim, I was scared. If you were to ask me before
do a marathon?
Half, like to even run the half. If you were to ask me about the half we did in Orange County, not as scared, but still intimidated because I knew we were going for sub 2 hour.
Yeah.
But like going into marathon, like I am getting anxious, but that's just a part of it. It's like leading up to it, getting close to it. But like confidence wise, I have zero doubt. Like I went from being like timid, scared, like it's 26 miles, bro. I did 20 already, and I got second wind at mile 18.
So what's another 6?
What's another 6?
6.2? Nothing.
Like especially like I don't have to freaking be at a 5-minute pace.
Yeah.
I just have to freaking do the damn thing.
Done.
And like that's where it is. And like that attitude though, as I feel like it's so much easier to be replicated in daily life where it's like, okay, well, it's not as hard as running 20 miles.
Yeah.
Let's freaking go,
I feel the exact same thing. Like, I love that you said that because I tell Ali all the time, like, running's the perfect metaphor for life. I think I say it in probably every episode.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's highs and lows in every run. There's some days where you feel like shit and you don't want to do it. There's days where you're feeling amazing. There's days where, like, you have all these blisters, but you keep going and push through the difficulty. And, like, you can see that in every aspect of your life. Like, if it's work, like, you're going to have great days of work. You're going to have bad days of work. You're going to do really well on your presentation. Other times you're going to suck and feel like the worst piece in the world. And, like, the point is, like, you'd never let that stop you. And you find ways to develop yourself to push past that. And don't let it define who you are.
I have 2 quotes that I feel like play off of that.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that David Goggins is a machine, right?
Like, he wasn't always, though.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
But he talks about, there's 2 quotes. He says, when you are in the grip of life and in the danger of losing your shit, just think it's time to take a knee. It's the first quote. Okay. It's time to take a knee.
So pause.
Yeah. And then it goes, tell yourself, I'm good here. I'm great there. This sucks, but it'll be over 20 minutes. Maybe it's 20 miles or 20 days or 20 weeks, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah. Like, it's okay to feel that way.
Yeah.
But it's about how you respond to those feelings. Or, like you gotta, instead of responding with, I mean, I'm not saying that you can't take a rest day.
Yeah.
Like
you should listen to your
body, like 100%. But I'm saying it's about the way you respond to that. Like you could be like, okay, my body's killing me, and you could respond be like, I'm horrible, I'm dying. It's like, no, just take a deep breath and realize that it's okay. and it's going to pass.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Like if I know I need a rest day and I end up taking it, then like Allie always beats me up for this, but it's so true. Like I need to get out of this headspace. The rest of the day, I'm like, man, you suck. Like you should have just done it. Like what's wrong with you? You're weak.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, that's not the case. Like take a breath and
but then come back harder.
Yeah. Come back ready to go.
Yeah.
That's like the whole point of stoicism. It's like you can't control what happens to you, but you control how you respond.
Yeah.
And I think running and doing these hard things that we've been talking about help you control your responses, manage your emotions a little bit better, and be able to stay in the fight when things get tough and things aren't going your way.
Yeah.
But it's exactly what you said. How you respond. Take a knee, take a breath, whatever you got to do to get through it.
Yeah. And tell yourself, it's going to pass.
Yeah. Just don't let it stop you.
Yeah. I tell myself that a lot when I run.
Don't let that stop you?
Yeah. No, a lot of times I'll I actually think about the David Goggins quote in that post Leadville where it says, didn't notice it. I say that a lot when I'm running. Like I might have a side pain and I'll just like don't notice it.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Like even though it's like really hurting and my inner self is like, Drew, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
But like that's what I have to tell myself.
Yeah. It's like whatever.
Didn't notice it.
Yeah. Today I had I ran 2 miles. Well, 6 total, but 2 at a 6:40 pace.
Yeah.
And by the end of mile 2, I was like, my lungs were burning. And then that same thing, I was like, whatever, it's done.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. It's over.
But no, and to sum it all up, like, yes, David Goggins he is maybe a very extreme example to look to. But he's also a realistic example. Like he took it to the extreme with like, I'm going to push myself and go run these crazy miles. I'm going to become a Navy SEAL. I'm going to run on broken legs. But he wasn't like that at the beginning.
Yeah.
And he was 350 pounds. He was spraying for bugs. He did not have like the best job or the best life. He lived in like a small apartment, I think with his grandma, or something like that. And then one day it just clicked. And he's like, I need to change. Just kind of like with you. You're like looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I'm not who I think I am. And I need to change that to be who I know I can become.
Yeah.
And everyone has that in them. Like, everyone has the ability to achieve greatness. Talk about it all the time. But it's those who are willing to actually take the actions to get there, who are willing to put themselves in uncomfortable situations, who become that greatness that they always imagined they could be.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome, like, seeing you actually do it. Because, yeah, a year ago, you're like, hell no, I'm never running again. Like, that's the dumbest thing. You and I would do Hell for the Holidays on Thanksgiving. We'd run like a mile. I
remember fighting you and be like, no, I want to do 40 miles.
Yeah.
We'll do 4 sets of a quarter mile.
Yeah, we're just like, I just want to lift, which lifting is important. Like, you need to incorporate both. But, like, it's just crazy seeing where you were, and now
it's like
we're running a marathon next weekend.
Well, if we were to do Hell for the Holidays, you'd be like, okay, we're going to start with a 6-mile run. I was like, okay.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, like, hey, let's do 10-mile run, whatever,
We'll probably do that this year.
Yeah.
Flipping yours on 6.5 to start, do a circuit, and then run 6.5 afterwards.
That sucks. That I might fight you on still.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But anything else, like, comes top of mind that you want to discuss or bring up about Mr. Goggins?
The only thing about David Goggins that I love above all things is like his just ability to get it done.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's like, sorry to cut you off, but like everyone who you've mentioned, Jordan, Kobe, Michael, I guess that is Michael, Jordan,
Kobe.
Goggins.
Kobe.
Yeah, so Kobe.
Jordan.
Goggins.
Yeah.
Like they all have it, you know.
Yeah.
Like they just know how to get it done.
Yeah. Like that's the thing is that they, and this is this thing that he says. He says, if you want to get better, do the things no one else wants to. Do the things that you're uncomfortable doing. If you can get through doing things that you hate to do, the other side is greatness. On the other side is greatness.
Boom.
And that perfectly sums up Goggins. and that he's not I know he seems like a freak, but he's not actually a freak.
Yeah.
And it's all about just, if you want to be better, do the things you don't want to do.
Yeah. I love that. There's this quote from him that I try and live by through the podcast, through my own social media, but he says this: I gave myself one rule before joining social media. If I can't live it, I won't speak it. And that alone, I think, is a lesson that we can all take, is like, if you can't live it, if you can't do what you say you're going to, then don't say it.
Yeah.
Until you can get to that point where you have built that confidence, you've gotten to the point to where you know that you can run 7 miles, no problem, 13, no problem. And now you're like getting ready for this marathon. You're like, it'll be hard, but I'll get it done. Like, don't say the things that you can't live up to, because then you become a liar, and then it's bad. But everyone has greatness inside them.
Yep.
So that's it.
That's it. It's a good book.
It's a good book. Everyone go listen to it. It says some F words, but other than that, it's good.
It's good.
This is going to be a regular occurrence.
Yes.
You on the show. So stay tuned. Microphones are going to get better. But
I want to get more handsome.
He's going to get handsome. I'm going to get buff. I'll dye my hair. We'll both get buff. That's true. Actually, after the marathon, we're going to strength train a little bit more.
Yeah. More push-ups.
200 push-ups a day. Easy. Make it 500. But, no, thanks for coming on. And until next episode, everyone, keep getting after it. That was it.
Sick.
That was good.
That was a big one.
I liked it. Hour and 2 minutes, dude.
That's good.
It's pretty good.
What's your normal podcast length?
The one I put one up yesterday was 30 minutes.